Hello, everybody. My name's Andrew, and I am not a Mob Psycho 100 superfan. I've been dealing with this pressure for a long time. I get a lot of hatred. I've lost a lot of friends because of this, and I don't have anywhere to go. I struggle with this on a daily basis, every single week. I just feel like I'm outside of the group. I feel like I'm not a part of a lot of my friend circles because I'm not a super fan of it. I don't have anger towards it. I actually like it, but they look at me like I don't have the same face as they do, and it scares me. I want to like it, but it doesn't. I think something's wrong with me, and I need help. What is up, everybody? I have been struggling for a while now if I even want to review this. This is one of those series. Mob Psycho 100 Season 3 finale just happened, and I really don't know if I even want to review this series, but here I am. I'm doing it. I want to start off by saying, please don't hit the dislike button until you watch this whole video. Please hear me out. I have been watching Mob Psycho for 3 seasons now, and never have I wanted to drop the series. Never have I hated this series. But at the same time, I'm not that into it. But this is my review for the 3rd season of Mob Psycho 100, so let's jump into it. For those that have been living under a rock, Mob Psycho 100 essentially follows a boy named Mob. And Mob has the ability to use psychic powers, but due to the fact that he sees it being dangerous, he doesn't like to use it often, and even wants to learn how to use it better when he becomes under the tutelage of a scam artist, Reigen. On the side, he's also seeking self-improvement. Join this bodybuilding club and everything in order to improve himself because he wants to seek the eyes and the attention of his longtime crush, Tsubame. And so this becomes kind of a back and forth. Self-improvement, seeking out Tsubame, being exploited by Reigen, learning how to use his powers, and yes, all the while, every time his sort of anxiety builds up and reaches 100, he goes berserk. That's the whole shtick. And now as we get to Season 3, we see that we now have the aftermath of what happened in Season 2. There's this gigantic broccoli tree in the middle of the town, and everybody's seeking to find the person that created it, find this figurehead of this cult that they've essentially created around it. And yes, in the later part of it, we get a more focus on Mob himself and his insecurities around Tsubame and his use of his powers. So now, with the obvious synopsis out of the way, let's get into my thoughts on Mob Psycho 100. Specifically, the entire series as a whole. I've been pretty clear for a lot of people that Season 1 didn't work for me. Season 2, I absolutely loved. Season 3, kind of in the middle. It's like a shrug for me. And that, again, that goes into my whole issue with talking about this series. It's a struggle for me. And it's really something that, for myself, is frustrating. I don't like being a contrarian. I'm not here to say that your show is terrible. But it's more in the fact that Mob Psycho 100 is a pure example for me to give to people, which I guess is a good thing, of a series where you see the fandom behind it. You see how excited people get. And you get kind of frustrated because you can't see it like they do. As this series was airing, I would see plenty of comments here and there of people going, holy crap, Mob Psycho, this episode blew me away. They're super excited. And so when I go to watch the episode and it doesn't blow me away, I sit back and go, what did I miss? Again, like I joked about at the very beginning, it almost feels like you're an outsider. Like there's a language here that you're not understanding. And that's always been my growing frustration. The only thing I could really think of when I was actually really sitting down and contemplating this was I think it's probably because the series has always had one big fault for me. I'm not a fan of the art style. I've never been a fan of this mangaka's art style. And I think that Bones did a very incredible job of adapting it, nailing the animation and making the characters very lively, very artistic. But it's not an art style that I like. It almost has, for me personally, almost a comedic comic look to it, which, yes, technically works for a lot of the comedy beats. But whenever it comes to the points where it gets serious, it's hard for me to take it serious. And that's the only really kind of explanation that I can come up with in the end. At its core, I still get plenty of emotion out of this series, don't get me wrong. Mob and his moments of growth throughout these 3 seasons has always been a center point of interest for me. I like seeing his insecurities. I like seeing him struggle. And yes, technically with this 3rd season, seeing that climactic moment where it builds up should be impactful. But again, I don't think I've seen the same amount of impact as other people. Though sadly, I think a lot of my frustrations with the last arc was around the fact that somebody was somewhere while lots of things were blowing up, and it didn't make any sense why that person would be sitting there when buildings were literally toppling over. But even putting that aside, my frustration came in that it was an internal struggle that made sense, but again, didn't impact me. And that, again, frustrated me. But I will give them credit for being consistent with the story, because essentially the story at the end is the story from the beginning. The struggles of Mob kind of goes full circle to the original issue with him and his relationships. Mob has never been comfortable with himself, and Mob has always been struggling with what he can do. And yes, struggling with the dangers that what he can do can cause. And I can see some people seeing some sort of relatability, even though they might have psychic powers, to the idea of somebody that is trying to hide what they were, and thus realizing at some point they can't hide that any longer. The fear of people not accepting you for what you really are can ultimately, in some cases, destroy you. And again, trying to figure out why this show doesn't click for me, that might be why. I've always been the type that doesn't like hiding who I am. Aside from some moments when I was in school, hiding the fact that I liked games or whatever, there was never some sort of self-identity issue that I was having there. So maybe a lack of my own self-complexity, I can't understand Mob as much as some other people do. Make no mistake, some anime can be 100 out of 10 just based on the fact that you as a person looking at the main character and relate to them can make it so much more impactful, which may be why I like Reigen so much. Reigen has always been the main center point of my enjoyment of this entire series. Because yes, early on, especially with the first season, I really didn't care about Mob. And so I think the first season didn't really work for me until we got into the second season. And I really started to get Reigen. I started understanding Reigen, and yes, I fell in love with Reigen. He was an extremely flawed person, but somebody that Mob trusted. So I was very curious to see how these two can work with each other. Mob being somebody who, yes, trusts a lot of people, even to the fault of trusting Reigen. And then we have somebody who literally feeds off of people's trust and what direction that can go. And I think the great thing that came from that, obviously, is almost this parental figure for Mob. Yes, Mob has a family, but Reigen is almost somebody that he was able to trust with something that he was keeping hidden. And I really love that dynamic. Reigen was his psychic parental figure, even if he exploited it on a regular basis. But again, that all gets into a pretty solid climax with the third season. The other key moment in the third season that was another one of those moments where everybody else was freaking out, and I unfortunately did not, was around Dimple. Dimple has been kind of a key figure throughout the entire series. He's sort of Reigen, but one with power. Or at least trying to get power. He's another scam artist that Mob trusts. One that is seeking out to have a cult that he can control. Something that can feed him power and thus give him strength. And again, another case in the third season where, as it got to a climactic moment, I knew something was here, but it didn't impact me. Chop it up as Gold Frieza syndrome, I don't know. Something just didn't hit with me. I knew it was happening. I could see it, but it wasn't impacting me. And you could probably chop that up as a fact that I've never really been truly emotionally invested in the series. But again, that all comes down to me saying, I don't think your show is bad. If you love Mob Psycho 100, I am super happy for you. Again, my major struggle here is that I hate that I'm not enjoying it more. I want to enjoy things. Look at any of my top lists. If you see my favorite anime, I want to scream about it. I want to tell everybody about it. But at the same time, this is one of the few where unfortunately I can't, because then I'm being disingenuous to people. It's very easy for a content creator like me to get too lost in being too positive. It's not that it's bad to be positive about things. If you enjoy things, you want other people to know about it. And that's what other people are doing to me, obviously, with my top list saying, where's Mob Psycho? They want me to know about their show, and that's perfectly fine. But I guess the main thing that I want people to know is that in cases like this, where I don't personally love it, it does upset me, because I do want to love it like other people do. But again, my key point here is that Mob Psycho 100, in my opinion, is not a bad show. I like it. It's just not amazing for me. And is that okay? I think it is. When you make as many videos as I do talking about how much I enjoy things and people comment saying, I didn't like it, you learn eventually that people aren't going to like what you like. And that's an okay thing. It's good to recommend things, but realize that it's not going to work for everybody. And that's an okay thing, because you don't want everybody to agree with everything you like. You just have to agree that Reigen's great. But anyhow, that's my review, sort of just more personal rant than anything of Mob Psycho 100 Season 3. Again, in the end, I highly suggest everybody checking out the series, even if it's not an amazing series to me. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video anyways. If you did like this video, make sure to hit the like button because I'm going to get ratioed to heck because people are going to hit the dislike button immediately. But as per usual, if you like this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you got my content. I do news reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. We also have a membership button where you can join and get some special speed channel emotes. We're also looking to do some membership-only content. But however you support the channel through sharing, like buttons, comments, I greatly appreciate the support. And with that said, y'all take care.